The starship Odyssey floated silently above the lavender-hued clouds of planet Ylara. Captain Elias Trent, a human explorer from Earth, adjusted his suit and stared out the viewport. He had been assigned to a reconnaissance mission to chart the outer rim of the Zynari sector, a region unknown to humanity. The mission was risky, but Elias had volunteered for it. He had always believed that humans had a unique spark, something others lacked, and he wanted to prove it. The surface of Ylara shimmered under two suns. Strange forests with iridescent leaves stretched as far as the eye could see, and rivers of liquid crystal wound through the valleys. Sensors had detected life forms, intelligent ones, moving in patterns that suggested organized behavior. This was exciting and terrifying. Elias knew he might be the first human to make contact with this alien civilization. As the Odyssey descended slowly, the sensors picked up multiple life signs. Elias's heart raced. He had studied alien physiology and psychology extensively, but nothing could fully prepare him for the moment when an intelligent species actually stood before him. The ship landed in a clearing surrounded by tall, crystalline trees. The air shimmered with faint energy, carrying a scent that reminded Elias of a blend of flowers and ozone. The doors of the Odyssey opened with a hiss. Elias stepped out, his boots crunching on the crystalline soil. Before him stood a group of figures, humanoid in shape, but unlike any human, their skin glowed softly, shifting in color with every movement, from pale gold to soft turquoise. Their eyes were large, expressive, and deep as pools, reflecting both curiosity and intelligence. Their hair floated slightly, as if moved by invisible currents. Elias froze, not out of fear, but awe. He had read about the Zynari species, but never imagined seeing them in real life, and he realized, with a surge of both pride and nervousness, that he was the first human male they had ever encountered. The elders had described humans as a curious, unpredictable species, full of potential and resilience. Now, those words were no longer abstract. They were living beings before him. The aliens did not speak in any language Elias knew. Instead, they communicated through a series of musical tones and subtle gestures. Their movements were elegant, almost dance-like, conveying questions and intentions. One of them, taller than the others, stepped forward. Her skin glimmered gold with streaks of soft lavender, and her gaze locked on Elias. She tilted her head slightly, an unmistakable signal of curiosity. Elias returned the gesture, bowing slightly as a sign of respect. He raised a hand slowly. "I am Elias Trent. I come in peace." His voice sounded strange in the quiet clearing. He hoped the universal translators on his suit would suffice. To his relief, the alien before him moved her hands in a series of graceful motions. The translator converted it into words. "Peace. Curious. Why here?" Elias swallowed. "I'm an explorer. I seek knowledge, friendship, and understanding between our species." He spoke carefully, choosing words that could be easily interpreted. The alien woman he thought of her as the leader moved closer. She circled him slowly, studying every detail. Her eyes lingered on his hands, then on his suit, and finally on his face. Elias noticed a subtle pattern in her gestures, almost like she was cataloging his movements. Every alien in the group mirrored her actions, observing him in silence. Though he had studied alien behavior academically, this real-life observation was overwhelming. Elias realized that they were not only curious about his physical form but also about his intentions, his emotions, and the very essence of what made him human. This was the first true test of humanity in this part of the universe. He held out a small device, a universal translator interface, and a gesture of goodwill. The leader examined it, then touched it lightly. A soft hum filled the air, and images appeared. Earth, humans, our cities, and our history. The aliens tilted their heads, seemingly fascinated. Their skin shimmered in new patterns, perhaps a sign of excitement or understanding. Elias breathed slowly. His mind raced with questions. Are they intelligent? Friendly? How will they judge humans? The leader finally spoke, her voice melodic through the translator. Human, first contact, curious, learn. He nodded. Yes. I wish to learn. And to share. The aliens moved closer. Elias realized they were not hostile. They simply lacked the social framework to express trust the way humans did. Their curiosity was overwhelming but non-threatening. They touched his suit gently, feeling its materials. They examined his equipment, his gloves, and even his boots. All without malice. One of the younger aliens reached out, touching his arm. Elias felt a strange warmth, as if the alien were trying to connect on a fundamental level. He smiled and extended his hand, a universal gesture of friendship. The alien mirrored the gesture, and for a moment, two completely different species connected through simple human empathy. Then the leader gestured for him to follow. Elias walked slowly, understanding that this was an invitation. The aliens led him through the crystalline forest, moving with a grace he could barely keep up with. As they walked, Elias noticed symbols carved into the trees, glowing faintly. The alien's skin changed color as they passed these symbols, indicating communication or recognition he couldn't yet interpret. Finally, they reached a clearing dominated by a massive structure, made of a translucent material that resembled ice but shimmered with internal light. The aliens gestured for him to enter. Elias hesitated but remembered his mission: to understand, to learn, and to represent humanity with courage. He stepped inside. The interior was breathtaking. Light refracted through walls and ceilings, creating rainbows in every direction. The air hummed with energy. In the center, there was a platform surrounded by floating orbs. The leader gestured for him to stand on it. As he did, he realized the platform scanned him, not in a harmful way, but with intense scrutiny. A series of images and data streamed around him: his biological readings, his movements, even subtle emotional responses. Elias swallowed. This was no ordinary greeting. The Zainari were attempting to understand him completely, the first human to step into their world. He felt a mix of fear, pride, and determination. Humanity's first impression mattered. The leader's eyes met his. Human. Strong. Brave. Curious. Learn more? Grava. Learn more. Grava. Yes, he said firmly. I want to learn about you, and I hope you will learn about us too. The scanning ended. Elias felt a sense of relief. But he also knew this was just the beginning. The alien's curiosity was boundless. And so was the responsibility placed upon him. He had to show that humans were capable of empathy, intelligence, and courage, even in situations completely foreign to them. Outside, the twin suns of Yalara began to set, casting long shadows across the crystalline landscape. Elias realized that his life, and perhaps humanity's relationship with this part of the galaxy, would never be the same again. These aliens, curious and intelligent, were watching him, learning from him, and forming their first opinions about humans. Elias took a deep breath. I must not fail. The leader tilted her head, her glowing skin shifting to soft shades of gold and violet. A gesture followed an invitation to stay, to continue learning, and to share. Elias smiled, feeling a warmth that went beyond the suit's life support systems. This was more than first contact. It was the beginning of a story that could redefine humanity's place in the galaxy. And for the first time, Elias felt that humans were not just survivors in the universe, they were worthy of admiration, curiosity, and respect. As the stars began to appear in Yalara's evening sky, Elias understood one simple truth. Being the first human male they had ever seen was not about being special. It was about being human. Fully. In all the courage, curiosity, and kindness that humanity could offer. The aliens had begun their study, and he would meet it with honesty, bravery, and every ounce of human spirit he could muster. He was ready for whatever came next. The light inside the Zainari structure shifted softly, creating a calm, almost meditative atmosphere. Elias Trent stood on the platform, still absorbing the earlier scans and observations. Though he had expected some form of first contact, Nothing had prepared him for the depth of curiosity these aliens displayed. They were not just watching him, they were studying what made him human. Every gesture and reaction carefully noted. The leader of the group, whose name Elias soon learned through gestures and translator signals was Lyria, approached him again. Her skin glimmered in soft green and gold shades, and her eyes, large and luminous, seemed to reflect not just his image but his intentions. She raised her hands, palms outward, signaling a question. The translator converted her gestures into words. Human. Share knowledge. Teach. Elias nodded. Yes, I will share what I can, and I hope you will share too. He wanted to demonstrate that humans were trustworthy, that curiosity could lead to mutual understanding rather than conflict. The aliens moved in unison, surrounding him in a semicircle. Their expressions were unreadable in human terms, but Elias could sense a calm focus, like scientists observing an experiment that had just begun to reveal its first results. He reached into his suit pocket and produced a small hollow tablet, displaying a rotating image of Earth. The continents and oceans shimmered as it spun, and the translator narrated basic facts about humanity. Human world, diverse, intelligent, brave. Lyria's voice carried wonder as the words formed. Yes, Elias said, we have many challenges, but we also have hope, friendship, and courage. He tried to convey the essence of humanity in the simplest terms, knowing these concepts were abstract for the Zainari. A younger alien, slightly smaller than the others and with a vibrant pink-blue glow, stepped forward. Elias guessed this one was equivalent to a student or novice among them. She reached out, touching the tablet with delicate fingers, and her skin shimmered with rapid patterns. The translator converted her gestures. Curious? Can humans survive space? Cone. Elias smiled. Yes. We have learned to travel among the stars. It is dangerous, but we adapt. We find solutions where others might fail. He gestured toward his suit. This is how I survive here. Humans are resourceful. The aliens seemed fascinated. They mimicked his gesture, touching their own bodies and watching their skin shift colors. Elias realized they were trying to understand the connection between the physical form and survival capabilities. Lyria then guided him to a central chamber deeper in the structure. The walls glowed with symbols that pulsed in rhythm with their movements. Elias followed, careful to respect their space. Though the atmosphere was calm, he felt an underlying tension, a test. These aliens were intelligent, cautious, and protective of their world. Any wrong move could be disastrous. Inside the chamber, a table-like structure appeared, hovering slightly above the ground. Lyria gestured for Elias to place the hollow tablet on it. As he did, beams of light scanned the tablet, and images of human cities, machines, and explorers appeared floating in the air. The Zenari surrounding him reacted with synchronized gestures and tonal sounds, which the translator converted into words. Learn. Understand. Adapt. Elias felt a thrill. They were not hostile, they wanted to comprehend humanity. This was a rare opportunity to prove that humans were intelligent, empathetic, and worthy of interstellar recognition. He spoke slowly. Humans learn from experience. We make mistakes, but we also find solutions. Curiosity is our strength. The Zainari nodded. Their skin colors shifted in complex patterns, perhaps indicating approval or comprehension. One of the younger aliens moved closer, tilting her head. She extended a hand, not touching Elias directly, but signaling an interest in interaction. Elias extended his own hand carefully, demonstrating patience and caution. The alien mirrored him, holding the gesture a moment longer than expected. Then she withdrew, and her skin pulsed bright violet, a sign of excitement or understanding, he guessed. He realized that these small interactions were building trust, a subtle but crucial foundation for all future relations. Suddenly, a soft chime echoed through the chamber. Elias looked up and saw that the walls themselves were responding. Symbols rearranged themselves, forming patterns that resembled maps or schematics. Lyria pointed toward a section of the wall. The translator converted her gestures. Human. Understand our world, our ways. Yes, Elias said eagerly. I want to understand. He walked closer, examining the glowing maps. They depicted the forested regions of Ylara, rivers of crystal, and energy currents that pulsed like veins across the land. He realized the Zanari were not just intelligent. They were attuned to their planet in ways humans rarely achieved. They had learned to live in harmony with their environment, adapting without harming it. Elias touched one of the maps, and the energy pulsed under his fingers. The younger aliens reacted immediately, as if amazed that a human could interact with their technology without causing harm. He smiled and continued exploring, showing care and curiosity. Lyria watched him closely, her glowing skin alternating gold and green. She spoke through the translator. Human. Share knowledge of survival, adaptation, cooperation. Elias thought for a moment. Yes. Humans have survived deserts, oceans, and space. We work together, we protect each other, and we solve problems through collaboration and innovation. The alien's eyes widened. Their hands moved in rapid sequences, as if recording or analyzing his words. Elias realized that even abstract human concepts like collaboration and ingenuity were being translated into something tangible in their understanding. For hours, Elias demonstrated simple human tools and methods. He showed how to purify water, filter air, and manage energy efficiently. Each demonstration was met with fascination. Subtle changes in skin color, and melodic sounds that the translator converted into words. Learn. Repeat. Adapt. At one point, Elias took a small, portable communicator from his suit. He activated it and projected a miniature star chart. The Zanari studied it closely, their skin shifting rapidly with a mix of excitement and curiosity. Lyria tilted her head, indicating questions about the distances and compositions of other planets. Elias explained, as simply as possible, showing that humans had reached other stars and made contact with some civilizations, but always cautiously. Brave, curious, strong, Lyria said, her voice soft but firm. Elias felt a surge of pride. Here he was, a single human, demonstrating that humanity could be intelligent, resourceful, and worthy of interstellar respect. The Zanari were not just curious, they were recognizing the potential of humans, and perhaps the courage to venture where none had gone before. As the session continued, Elias began to notice subtle social structures among the Zanari. The younger aliens deferred to the older ones. Certain gestures signaled agreement or approval. Lyria, as the leader, guided the interactions. Elias realized that understanding their society would take time, but every observation now was crucial. Toward the end of the day, Lyria led Elias back to the initial chamber. The aliens formed a semicircle again, their eyes fixed on him. The translator converted their coordinated gestures. Human. Stay. Learn more. Trust grows. Elias nodded. I will stay. I want to understand you. And I hope you will understand us. The leader stepped closer, her glowing skin now a calm shade of turquoise. She reached out with a hand, not touching but signaling a gesture of acceptance. Elias mirrored her movement, maintaining respectful distance. In that silent exchange, a bond was formed. It was not friendship in human terms yet, but it was recognition, trust, and mutual curiosity, a first step toward deeper connection. As night fell over Ylara, the twin suns dipping below the crystalline horizon, Elias stepped outside the structure with Lyria and her group. The world glimmered under the fading light, and Elias felt a profound sense of awe. Humanity's first impression had been met with curiosity and patience, and he had shown that humans could be brave, intelligent, and respectful. He realized that first contact was not about dominance or fear, it was about demonstrating the best qualities of one's species. Courage, curiosity, patience, and kindness were as important as technology or knowledge. And in that moment, Elias felt that humans had shown a spark worth studying, a potential that might one day shine across the galaxy. Lyria tilted her head toward him. Through the translator, the words formed softly. Human. Teach. Learn. Share. Together? Yes, Elias replied firmly, a smile spreading across his face. Together, and under the strange skies of Ylara, two species began to learn from each other, step by step, gesture by gesture, understanding that the universe was vast, mysterious, and full of possibilities, especially for humans willing to meet it with courage and heart. The next morning, Elias awoke in the small chamber the Zainari had prepared for him. It was filled with soft light, and the air vibrated faintly. A natural energy flow of the planet. Despite the novelty and strangeness of his surroundings, Elias felt a sense of purpose. Today, he would demonstrate human ingenuity in a way that went beyond simple tools and explanations. Lyria appeared, gliding toward him with her usual grace. Her skin shimmered soft gold and emerald, signaling her approval from yesterday. Through the translator, she communicated, "Human. Challenge. Prove. Understand. Deeper." Elias nodded. "I am ready," he said. He could feel his heart pounding. But it was a good kind of excitement. First contact was more than observation. It was collaboration, and now he had the chance to prove that humanity could solve problems even in unfamiliar conditions. Lyria led him outside. The crystalline forest of Ylara stretched endlessly, but something unusual had occurred overnight. A sudden shift in the energy currents had caused the floating orbs that the aliens relied on for navigation to become unstable. Some orbs had fallen, and streams of energy flickered dangerously along the forest floor. This is the test, Elias realized. The aliens were observing how he would react in a real-world challenge, assessing his intelligence, patience, and courage. Humans were known for ingenuity and adaptability. Now he had to show it. He stepped forward cautiously, analyzing the situation. The floating orbs pulsed with energy, casting long beams across the crystalline ground. Any mistake could disrupt the delicate balance of the forest's energy field. Elias thought fast. "Lyria," he said, "these energy orbs, I think they are like natural circuits, distributing energy across the forest. If I can stabilize their flow, it might restore balance." Lyria tilted her head, signaling understanding. Her skin pulsed with a rapid sequence, indicating encouragement. Elias smiled. The aliens were trusting him to act. He began moving carefully, placing his hands near the weaker orbs. The energy hummed around him, tickling his suit and sending a shiver up his spine. He mimicked the flow patterns he had observed, guiding the energy with gentle gestures. Slowly, the orbs began to glow steadily, and the forest lights returned to their calm rhythm. The younger Zainari watched in awe. They had never seen a human manipulate energy in this way without machines. Elias realized that his success was not just in solving the immediate problem, but in demonstrating a uniquely human blend of intuition, courage, and creativity. Suddenly, one of the larger orbs flickered violently. Elias reacted quickly, adjusting his position and using his hands to guide the energy safely. A pulse of light shot upward, illuminating the sky like a miniature aurora. The aliens gasped, their skin pulsing in vibrant shades of violet and gold. "Human. Adapt. Solve. Brave," Lyria said, her voice melodic through the translator. Elias exhaled. He had succeeded. The forest's energy stabilized, and the orbs resumed their steady glow. He realized the aliens were not just studying him. They were evaluating the potential of humanity to work with other species, to understand alien systems, and to demonstrate leadership under pressure. After the crisis, Lyria guided him to a central clearing, where a series of floating platforms hovered above the ground. Each platform contained tools, objects, and devices Elias had never seen before. They were alien in design but seemed to follow logical patterns. "Learn," Lyria said, pointing to the first platform. Elias stepped forward. He examined the devices carefully, recognizing principles of mechanics and energy transfer. He experimented cautiously, connecting small components and observing the results. Some devices created energy fields. Others moved independently, responding to his gestures. The Zainari watched silently, noting every action. Elias felt the weight of responsibility. Every demonstration of intelligence, patience, and creativity would shape their impression of humanity. He focused, letting his training, curiosity, and intuition guide him. Hours passed as Elias explored the alien devices. He repaired a malfunctioning energy relay, constructed a small stabilizer using principles he recognized from his own world, and demonstrated problem-solving strategies that impressed even the youngest observers. At one point, a small miscalculation caused a device to emit a sharp pulse. Elias jumped back instinctively. The Zenari tensed briefly, but Lyria's calm gestures reassured them. Elias smiled sheepishly. Mistakes were human, and how humans handled mistakes was just as important as their successes. Human, resilient, learn from error. The translator converted Lyria's gestures. Elias nodded. Yes. Mistakes teach us. We try again, and we succeed. The aliens' reactions were subtle but telling. Skin colors shifted in patterns Elias had not seen before, perhaps laughter, curiosity, or appreciation. He realized that the Zenari were capable of emotions, complex and nuanced, just like humans. Their admiration for resilience was genuine. As the day wore on, Elias noticed a small group of younger aliens observing him from a distance. They had not approached directly but were studying his interactions with the devices and the environment. He approached them slowly, keeping his movements calm and deliberate. "Hello," he said softly, smiling. "You want to learn too?" They tilted their heads, and their skin pulsed in soft blue and green. Elias demonstrated a simple technique of stabilizing a floating object, explaining each step with gestures. The younger aliens mimicked him, carefully copying his movements. Some mistakes occurred, but Elias guided them patiently. Slowly, they improved. Older, improved in Elias, improved in prize. They improved in Elias Calland. Older singly. Slowly, they improved in prize. Older sang. Older sangly. Older sang. Older sang. And their glowing patterns reflected pride and satisfaction. Lyria observed from a distance, her skin shimmering gold. Through the translator, her words formed: human, teacher, patient, guide. Elias felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Humanity was not only being studied but was actively participating in a cross-species exchange of knowledge. This was HFY in action, humans proving that curiosity, intelligence, and empathy could thrive even in the most alien environments. As the twin suns began to set, casting long purple shadows across the crystalline forest, Lyria approached Elias again. She gestured toward a distant ridge where a massive structure loomed, partially hidden by glowing foliage. "Human, come, witness, learn more," the translator conveyed. Elias followed carefully. The ridge led to a vast cavern entrance, glowing faintly with internal energy. He realized that the Zenari were inviting him deeper into their world, to understand not just technology but culture, society, and perhaps even their history. Inside the cavern, murals adorned the walls, depicting events and patterns Elias could barely comprehend. They illustrated generations of Zenari life, their interaction with the planet's energy, and rituals of cooperation and learning. Elias studied each mural, marveling at the complexity and beauty of an entirely alien civilization. Lyria gestured to one particular mural, depicting figures using tools and interacting with energy currents. The translator converted her gestures. "Human, you do similar. Curiosity shared. Potential recognized. He won them. Thank you for watching. Clig. Castry. 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 Castry." Elias nodded. "Yes. Humans survive, adapt, and learn. We share knowledge with others, too. That is our strength." The aliens reacted with a symphony of colors and sounds. It was as if the walls themselves echoed with recognition. Elias realized that humanity's first impression was not just being recorded, but celebrated in their own way. As they left the cavern, Elias looked up at Lyria. Her skin glowed softly, and her expression, though alien, seemed almost proud. He had passed the first true test. He had demonstrated courage, intelligence, adaptability, and patience, and the aliens were beginning to trust him. Outside, the crystalline forest shimmered in the twilight. Elias felt a deep connection, not just to this alien species, but to humanity itself. Humans were explorers, teachers, learners, and pioneers. Their curiosity and courage had carried them across the stars. And now, on Ylara, he had proven that even one human could make a difference. Lyria turned toward him, her glowing hand extended in a gesture of acknowledgement. Through the translator, her words appeared. Human. Strong. Brave. Wise. Together. Learn more. Elias smiled, feeling warmth that had nothing to do with his suit's life support systems. Together, he replied. We will learn together. And as night fell over the crystalline canopy, Elias realized that humanity's story on Ylara was only beginning. There would be challenges, discoveries, and moments that tested both courage and intelligence. But one thing was certain. Humans had proven that they could rise to meet the unknown with heart, mind, and spirit. The aliens had studied, questioned, and observed. Now they were beginning to trust, collaborate, and recognize the spark of humanity. And Elias Trent, standing among them as the first human male they had ever encountered, felt the weight of responsibility and the thrill of possibility more deeply than ever before. For the first time, he understood that humanity's potential was limitless, not because of technology or strength, but because of curiosity, courage, and the willingness to connect across worlds. And as he gazed up at the stars beyond Yalara's skies, he knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges, deeper understanding, and opportunities to prove that humans were not just survivors, they were pioneers of the cosmos. The dawn light of Ylara broke across the crystalline forest, painting everything in soft shades of lavender and gold. Elias Trent stood at the edge of a plateau, overlooking the vast valley below. The energy currents he had learned to stabilize the day before now flowed smoothly, their glow casting dancing patterns across the landscape. The Zenari were gathering nearby, their luminous skin shifting in anticipation. Today was more than a demonstration. It was a culmination of trust, learning, and cooperation. Lyria stepped forward, her presence commanding yet graceful. Her skin glimmered in soft gold, and her eyes, large and expressive, reflected both curiosity and a sense of expectation. Through the translator, her melodic voice conveyed, "Human, today, learn deeper. Show wisdom. Guide." Quote, 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 quote. Elias nodded. He understood the challenge. It was not only about using human knowledge or ingenuity, but about acting as a bridge between species, demonstrating humanity's empathy, courage, and spirit in the face of the unknown. The aliens led him to a massive structure nestled within the valley, half hidden by crystalline trees and glowing foliage. It pulsed with internal energy, larger and more complex than anything Elias had yet encountered. Lyria gestured toward it. Human. Understand. Integrate. Harmony. Elias stepped closer, studying the structure. He could sense that it was more than a building, it was a living system, an intricate network of energy, symbols, and mechanisms that maintained balance across the planet. Misunderstanding its flow could disrupt the delicate equilibrium of Yalara's ecosystem. He took a deep breath. "I will be careful," he said, determined. "I want to help, not harm." The aliens observed silently, their skin pulsing in shades of turquoise and violet. Elias recognized the unspoken expectation. Adapt, learn quickly, and show respect for their world. He began by walking around the structure, analyzing its components. The floating orbs, the energy conduits, and the glyphs on the walls all seemed to respond to movement and intention. He remembered the lessons from the previous days: observation, patience, trial, and error. Applying what he had learned, he started guiding the energy flows with gentle gestures. At first, the response was minimal, and a faint flicker ran along the conduits. Elias adjusted his movements, carefully balancing the energy. Slowly, the structure stabilized, and beams of light shimmered across the valley, creating a breathtaking spectacle. The Zanari watched intently, noting each adjustment, each decision. One of the younger aliens, observing closely, mimicked his gestures. Elias smiled, nodding to encourage them. The Zainari began collaborating, following his guidance, and together they adjusted the energy flows, harmonizing human intuition with Zainari precision. Lyria spoke through the translator. Human, insightful, adaptable, guide others. Elias felt a surge of pride. It was more than just fixing a system. It was building trust, demonstrating empathy, and showing humanity's willingness to work with others. Humans were explorers, teachers, and collaborators. And now the Zainari were experiencing that firsthand. Suddenly, a fluctuation appeared in one of the energy conduits. A pulse of light shot outward, stronger than expected. Elias reacted instinctively. Guiding the energy away from the surrounding flora, the Zanari mirrored his movements, adjusting their own interactions to stabilize the flow. Human, courage, calm, resolve, Lyria said softly. Elias smiled faintly. We adapt, we act, together. The structure responded to their combined efforts. Energy flowed in perfect harmony, beams of light connecting the platforms, the orbs, and the walls. The entire valley seemed to resonate, with a gentle hum. Elias realized that this was more than a demonstration of skill. It was a symbol of cooperation. A moment where human courage and curiosity blended seamlessly with Zainari knowledge and culture. As the last pulses settled, Lyria gestured for Elias to step onto a central platform. It rose gently, bringing him to the center of the energy field. The translator converted her gestures. Human, witness, understand fully, share moment. From this vantage point, Elias saw the valley and the structure as a living organism. Energy flowed like blood through veins, lighting the forest and rivers of crystal below. The Zanari moved around him, their skin shimmering in complex patterns, almost as if they were dancing with the energy itself. Elias felt a profound connection not just to the aliens, but to humanity. He realized that humans were not just survivors or explorers. They were capable of building bridges, understanding others, and contributing to harmony in ways no single species could achieve alone. This was the essence of HFY: courage, intelligence, and empathy. Lyria approached, her gaze meeting his. Human, worthy, trust earned, partnership begins. Elias nodded. Thank you. Humans are ready to learn, to share, and to grow together. The younger aliens moved closer, surrounding him in a semicircle. They touched the energy conduits gently, practicing the techniques he had demonstrated. Elias guided them patiently, showing small adjustments and explaining his reasoning. Their skin glowed brighter with each success, reflecting pride and excitement. Lyria observed, her eyes softening. Through the translator. Human, teacher, friend, future assured. Elias felt warmth rise in his chest. Being the first human male they had encountered was not about fame, it was about showing the best of humanity, proving that humans could face the unknown with patience, courage, and empathy. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the valley. Elias glanced at Lyria and the Zanari, sensing a deep bond forming. They were no longer mere observers and subject, they were partners, collaborators, and allies in exploration. He stepped down from the central platform, walking slowly toward the edge of the valley. Lyria followed, her gestures expressing approval. Elias looked at the sky, where Yalara's twin suns painted streaks of pink and orange across the clouds. The planet seemed alive in a way humans rarely experienced, a living ecosystem that welcomed curiosity and cooperation. Tomorrow, Elias said softly, we can learn more, explore further, understand even deeper. Yes, together, Lyria replied. As night fell, the valley shimmered under the starlight. the energy flows casting a gentle glow. Elias felt a profound sense of accomplishment and responsibility. Humanity had made its first real connection with an alien civilization, not through conquest or force, but through curiosity, courage, and respect. He thought about the journey that had brought him here. From Earth's orbit, across uncharted space, into a world full of wonder, danger, and beauty. Every step had required patience, intelligence, and empathy. And now, at the culmination, Elias understood that humans had proved their worth not by dominance, but by spirit. The Zainari gathered around him, their gestures and skin colors forming patterns of harmony and acknowledgement. Elias smiled. In that moment, the boundaries between species seemed to blur. They were different, yet capable of understanding each other. They were aliens, and he was human, but together, they had found a bridge of knowledge, trust, and cooperation. Lyria stepped closer, her gaze meeting his once more. Human. First contact complete. Future shared. Learn forever. Yes, Elias said, his voice steady and confident. Humans are ready. Together, we can face anything. And as the stars of Yalara's sky sparkled, Elias felt a deep connection to both the planet and humanity. The first human impression had been made, and it was one of courage, curiosity, and hope. In that moment, Elias Trent understood that humanity's story in the cosmos was just beginning. There would be challenges, mysteries, and wonders yet unseen, but humans had shown the best of themselves: intelligence, empathy, creativity, and courage. The Zainari and humans, standing side by side in the glowing valley, looked to the future with anticipation. Together, they would explore, learn, and grow not as separate species, but as partners in a universe full of possibility. Elias took a deep breath. For the first time in his life, he felt the true weight of being humanity's ambassador not through words alone, but through actions that reflected the courage, heart, and brilliance of his species. The valley shimmered with life, the energy flows glowing brighter than ever. Elias knew that humans had left a mark, not of conquest, but of trust, cooperation, and hope. And as the twin suns disappeared beyond the horizon, he realized that the adventure was only beginning. This was HFY in its purest form, humans facing the unknown, showing courage, curiosity, and the capacity for connection and being recognized for it by an alien civilization. And under Yalara's sparkling sky, Elias Trent smiled, ready for all that the universe had yet to teach and all that humanity was ready to share.